Deputy, all I'll say is this. None of us in this House want to see the issue of race or the issue of migration become centre stage in our politics. Most of all, somebody like me, given my colour and my family background and the fact that I am biracial. And I'd just like to ask you just to consider your approach to this and consider it carefully. And I know you're well-intentioned and I know you're fervently anti-racist and internationalist, and I absolutely accept that. But I just ask you not to inadvertently play their game. Don't make any excuses for them. No matter what problem a country faces, the far right and racists will blame that on migrants. If we didn't have a housing crisis and we had an unemployment crisis, they'd blame that on the migrants instead. And if we didn't have an unemployment crisis, they'd blame crime on the migrants. They will always pick on whatever issue is hurting a country at a particular point in time and try to blame that on the other. And I just ask you not to make excuses for them or do anything that might inadvertently play into their arguments. Thanks, Deputy. There are many reasons why the country faces a housing crisis and many reasons why the country faces a health crisis. And almost every country in the developed world is facing some form of housing or health crisis, and governments in those countries are doing their best to deal with it. And that's exactly what we're doing here. And it is our responsibility to put things right, and we'll do the best we can to do so. But again, Deputy, I'd ask you not to inadvertently make excuses for the far right or make excuses for racists. No matter what problem a country faces, and every country has some problem, they will blame that problem on the other, on the brown man or the brown woman. And please don't inadvertently make excuses for them by pursuing the line of argument that I believe you're pursuing at the moment. I do agree with you on this. Irish people understand migration better than most. Most of our families are formed by migration. My father came here from India, my mother's from Ireland, but they met when they worked in the NHS in England. My sister lives in London. And every story of every Irish family is one of migration of some form or another. So many of my relatives live in the US. And we understand it better than most. And we understand that by and large, migration has been good for Ireland. If you go into the big tech companies that pay billions in tax and allow our country to function the way it does, you go into those companies and you see a very diverse international workforce. Those companies aren't just here because of our favourable tax rates. One of the reasons why they come here is because we are open to talent from all over the world. You go into any Irish hospital and you will see how diverse the workforce is there. And our public services simply would not function were it not for the fact that people come from other parts of the world to work here. And we know how much migration has enriched our culture and made Ireland a much more interesting place in the last few decades. And that's why I think we should always emphasise the fact that countries that are open to migration tend to be countries that are wealthier and tend to be countries that are more successful and more stable. And that's why we should continue to be open to migration. There is a difference, though, between legal migration and illegal migration, and we shouldn't be afraid to say that. And there are many legal pathways to migration into Ireland. Last year, 30,000 Irish citizens returned home, and any Irish citizen can, of course, come and live in Ireland. UK citizens can do the same. Every year, tens of thousands, if not more, EU citizens come to live in Ireland. They can live anywhere in the European Union, but they choose to come and live in Ireland, largely because of the economic opportunities that we have to offer. And last year alone, the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment issued 40,000 work permits, the highest ever, to people from outside the European Union who are coming here to take up employment, are coming here to study. And what we should encourage people to do is to avail of the many legal pathways to come into the country, including those.